Howdy, howdy, howdy. I got some comic reviews I'm going to do here. I've got 5 books which I'm going to shoot my mouth off about, and I did have some other ones come in, but there again, my problem with Detective Comics, the same with Batman, since I had no number 1 at the store still, I can't review number 3. So sorry. So, that might save you a bit of pain with the reviews as I listen to them. And I even tried to come up with a new rating system, since they seem to be a popular trend on here. I love beer. I'm not partial to any one particular brand. As long as it's open, I'm happy with it, and I don't encourage underage drinking at the same time that I announced that. So, out of 5 cold ones, I will give you how many I think each issue deserves. And without further ado, let's get down into it. 2 from DC, 3 from Marvel. Let's go. Grant Morrison and Rags Morales on Action Comics number 3. We're continuing the story of the young Superman set 5 years ago from the present time. This is interesting. Morrison is letting his politics bleed into things. In fact, it's hard to think of a comic that don't have politics bleeding into it, although the fiasco of Fear Itself by Mr. Fraction, which was a very big miss. Morrison seems to have a better handle on it, and we got a little bit of the Occupy Wall Street thing going on in here. Mr. Glenn Morgan, who is the Wall Street exec or the shareholder, or whatever he was, who Superman hassled back in issue 1. Kind of getting myself center of the camera here. He's come back and he's caused a stir in the people against Superman, and while I do subscribe to the points of view a little bit of, a particular thing, such as the Kardashian divorce, for instance, playing a distraction to what's going on with the economy, Morrison, twists it into a good story element with this. I'm not entirely bored by it, and we see sort of a little bit of an attack on civil liberties, as in the case of point when the police bust up and investigate Clark Kent's pad. Apparently, this is the way that he's addressed the detective. This has been quite a frequent occurrence since he started at the Daily Star. This is good. The politics, I think, are handled well enough in this without my own views bleeding into, kind of obscure things. He's got a really good handle on it. The stuff that also takes place, we have a large flashback sequence in the opening first few pages of the issue that details the final moments of Krypton and what happened. This is stuff we've all been there before and done that, and it's still good. I think my complaint with this issue, however, is the same that I have for Action Comics 2, however. We're very busy with this. I don't know if it was Morrison or if it was just, DC saying, hey, we want you to write all this as it's happening. Brainiac, Metallo, is present in this, and Luthor has a secret agenda going on as well. I'm not complaining because the issue is well written, the art is good. The problem is, I think anybody that actually genuinely did pick up Action Comics number 1, first time getting into Superman, say not watching Smallville perhaps, or any of the Christopher Reeves movies or the animated series, they're definitely going to have a lot hitting them in the face when they first pick up this issue. It's good, but I do complain that it's busy, and it might wind up being a little overwhelming to them. But for those of us that have been there and done this, still a stellar issue. I give this one 4 out of 5 cold ones. Mr. Morrison, you're doing a terrific job. Keep it up. Moving along now to Mr. Scott Snyder and Yannick Paquette on Swamp Thing number 3. Miss Arcane has picked up Alec Holwyn, and they're riding on to a research center for terminally ill children. We're taking a break from a little bit of the Cthulhu-type villain that we've had in the first 2 issues and the Broke-Neck Zombies, and we're focusing mostly in on this young boy who is living in a bubble. Apparently the story says that this young kid, whose name is William, has a hard time breathing oxygen, and he has to live in the bubble. And this starts to, some spooky things start happening around there. There's some kids that kind of give William a hard time, and they mean to do him some bad. And there's something sinister hanging around there, which means much worse than those kids do. William is hearing voices from the fish that are mounted on the wall. This is a redneck's worst nightmare, I think. The fish are singing back, and they're certainly not singing, "Don't worry, be happy." And this is pretty much the Vertigo universe bled over into the mainstream. Swamp Thing combined up with a Tales from the Crypt type of theme. It's really, really good stuff. Mr. Paquette's art is phenomenal to look at. And we do get a nice little reveal about what's going on at the end, and a little more into the nature of Swamp Thing, as well as Miss Arcane's background herself, which is very interesting. Snyder, I haven't read his Batman stuff with the relaunch, but if what he did on Detective Comics was any type of indication of what's going to happen in Swamp Thing when he knows a character and he gets a handle on it, definitely a safe place. This is one that I backed from the start when they relaunched it. 5 cold ones out of 5 for me on it. Let's take a little trip to last week and review Daredevil number 5 by Mr. Mark Waid, with art by, what's his name? Marcos Martin. I've had a little bit of fun with this one. I waited a couple of months late to get into it, but it is a damn good issue. I've kind of forgotten the whole thing about Shadowland now since this man has taken over. He's definitely got a good handle on Daredevil. Last issue, which I didn't review, Daredevil is defending this young boy in a wrongful termination suit, and the boy, like him, is also blind. And it's more of a matter of the kid being a victim of circumstance that he happens to be fluent in Latvian, and he overheard a couple of bad guys who were talking in Latvian in that office. And we get this twist that the boy's boss actually fired him to protect him from being killed by these guys. And there's a really excellent action sequence that takes place in the middle of this issue where a bunch of the Latvian, let's call them mobsters, if you will, deploy an assassination squad against this boy, and Daredevil, who happens to always be 4 or 5 steps ahead of us sighted people, head in and take them out. And it's quite a hilarious read. Mark Waid doing terrific things on this. I've had a stellar pickup list this week as far as it goes with the comics. 5 cold ones out of 5 on this one. He's definitely got it going. Now let's switch gears over to the X-Men side of the universe. Last week I picked up Wolverine and the X-Men, didn't have a chance to review it, and I swore up and down I was going to stay off of Uncanny, but curiosity got the better of me when I read the reviews on Comic Vine. So before we see what the wife got out of the divorce, let's look at what Wolverine got. Jason Aaron writing, Chris Pachalo on the art. I, like a lot of people, was put off when I first heard about this title because of the art style in particular. But when I read the story and the tone in which it was written, I think Aaron definitely has a handle on this, and I can understand the art so much better now and appreciate it. Reading this is like seeing Wolverine and the X-Men in one of those old Tom and Jerry cartoons. If anybody can recall the ones that Hanna-Barbera animated, where it was just, kind of a quirky art style, and they had, like, no talking in there whatsoever. This is that. This is what I feel like, and it's such a sharp contrast to the way that Wolverine is written in a solo title. I think, in some ways, too, as far as handling an issue which is mostly humor stuff, Jason Aaron has a much better handle on that than, say, somebody like Daniel Way, who was writing Deadpool, who didn't really do so hot with it. I had some laughs with this book. There are these 2 inspectors who come and inspect the Jean Grey Institute of Higher education, which has been built on the grounds of the old X Mansion in Westchester. And a lot of the stuff they see kind of freaks them out a little bit. Case in point, for instance, when Kitty Pryde is sort of the tour guide around the school for them, there are a couple of guys who were carrying this huge girder, and she's almost knocked in the head, but she just phases right through it, and both of these inspectors are just, flabbergasted by what they see. And we have all sorts of hysterics take place around there. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong, like Mendel's Law says, and Wolverine wishes that he were somewhere else. But, he's committed to doing what he's doing, and I love the way that Aaron's writing this character in this regard. This type of humor that he's doing, in contrast to like a lot of the darker stuff that he's doing, to say the Hulk or Wolverine, I think this shows how much of talent that this guy's got as a writer. The issue itself is hysterical, and we get kind of a bad guy who shows up from this new Hellfire Club from Schism, kind of lays down that all the stuff that he was doing was his fault, and is going to kind of lay the groundwork, I think, for the series to come. If you're confused about who got which kid in the divorce, there is a interesting little chart at the end of this issue that delves into the kids that are hanging around Westchester. And plus, to further emphasize the tone of this story, anything that has dupe in it, where he is actually working as a receptionist at the school, you're guaranteed to get into some hysterics from there on out. Mr. Jason Aaron, I find no faults with this issue after having got into it myself, so been a lot of pleasant surprises this week. 5 cold ones out of 5 for you, Mr. Aaron. And finally, we come to Mr. Kieran Gillen on the new Uncanny X-Men. The cancellation of this is a joke. The last issue, yeah, I hated that. But this one is very much a sharp contrast. I was against picking this up because of how sucky that I thought the final issue of Uncanny X-Men was, and just how it barrel-assed towards a conclusion, which was very half-assed, and we got a setup of Mr. Sinister returning. This over-glorified jumping-on point, however, is good as far as first impressions go. This is the first issue of Uncanny of Gillian's that I've liked. Basically what we got going on in here, Cyclops has got his new team. We're mostly focusing on him, Emma Frost, Colossus, Magic, Hope Summers, Namor, and Magneto. And they're taking on this large celestial robot, which Sinister happened to take over, and he's got an agenda towards the end of this issue, which kind of sets up the type of, a Sinister plan that he's got in mind. But, yeah. The most interesting thing about this issue, too, I did not read the fiasco that was Fear itself, but I really like the handle that he has on this new Juggernaut in this issue. What I didn't think about, and the fact that since they have Magic on the team, this is a huge opportunity for Colossus and Magic to actually bond since they're brother and sister. Colossus, for those of you who don't know, made a deal with the demonic entity that inhabits the gem of Sidorak, which gave Juggernaut his powers, and during the Fear Itself storyline, Juggernaut got possessed by one of the Serpent's hammers and went more apeshit than he usually is. And Juggernaut made himself the new or not Juggernaut, but Colossus made himself the new Juggernaut to take this guy down. And the fact that he has something which he has to keep control of, kind of like what Elanya has to do with her demonic nature, if you will. This is actually an interesting opportunity for those characters to actually relate on something for once, and, seeing them fight side by side for this issue was definitely the highlight of it. The art in here by Mr. Pacheco, forgive me, let me find his first name real quick. Mr. Carlos Pacheco is outstanding. We get all the center characters lined up here on the first page. Emma Frost got a little bit of an S&M thing going on with her little slutty outfit, but it still looks pretty good. And we have a really cool redesign from Mr. Sinister. I love this issue. Props to you, Mr. Gillian, on it. 5 cold ones out of 5. And that does it for my comic reviews for this time around. Please join me next time and leave your questions and comments. And until then, I will catch you guys later. Happy reading.